We're going to hit the record. And welcome, guys, to another episode of For Feck's Sake Marketing Adventures with Carmel, where we give you tips, tricks, and bring you some amazing people that share with you the person behind the business and how they've become who they are, and kind of blow away some of that, the cobwebs or the illusion about that it's all this perfect sailing in business. So today we're going to have the amazing Mark with us today, and I'll introduce him properly in a moment. But how are you, Mark?
I'm doing great, Carmel. Yeah, thanks for having me in your. Thanks for inviting me to join in your tribe for the afternoon.
My absolute pleasure. I get so excited to talk to people, and especially people who we've just realized just how long we've known each other. Myself and Mark met virtually. We've never met in person, I believe. We met through a coaching school, and Mark has just reminded me it was back in 2012. Oh my Lord, 10 years ago, when we were fledgling coaches and learning the skill of coaching and the skill of mentoring other coaches at the time, I believe. So his name popped up in Facebook, you know, where else, and LinkedIn, I believe. His face popped up where he has had some extra qualifications in more recent times. So I'll let him tell you more about that. But let me introduce Mark properly to you. So Mark Setch, how do I pronounce your last name properly?
Perfectly. You just the way you did it. Okay. Perfect. Setch.
Mark is now an internationally qualified MCC coach, which stands for Master Certified Coach under the International Coaching Federation. And he has over 3,600 hours of coaching experience, which is phenomenal. So he's a leadership and personal development coach and trainer. And again, knowing the stuff Mark has learned, and to see, we were just talking about it before we started, that a lot of people that would have started around the same time, they drop off and don't use maybe coaching or a variant of that into a business. But we're still here, and it's 10 years later, so we must be doing something right. Mark is highly skilled at enabling people to gain awareness of the root cause of obstacles to growth and effective leadership. So through his extensive coaching of long-term unemployment and ill and injured soldiers and army officers specifically, Mark has developed very effective coaching strategies for building resilience, adaptability, and has successfully used these when working with leaders in a variety of contexts. So I can't wait to dig into that a little bit more. So there is a lot more there, and I will make that accessible to people as well. Mark actually holds so many qualifications, it's unbelievable. He has a Bachelor of Commerce degree, Bachelor of Theology, Doctor of Ministry, Diploma of Life Coaching, Cert 4 in Business, and the list goes on, including NLP, one of my favorite things ever. But what we're going to talk to Mark about today, and I'll let him get onto some of it, is this thing of coaching. So it's kind of, you know, what is coaching and why should I have a coach? But before we get into that, take us back to who Mark was and the transition of how Mark became who he is right now.
Oh, great question. Yeah, well, I'm on the East Coast, born and bred in Ipswich, and initially began a career in accounting. And so after uni, graduated, worked as an accountant with the Australian government in Canberra, then felt a call to full-time pastoral ministry, so trained again in theology, as you said before, and was ordained as a pastor in 1989, and for 21 years worked in full-time pastoral ministry.
Wow.
Yeah, but then it was in 2010, I started to get really restless and felt a strong sense I really wanted to engage with more people and support and share with more people in their journey just beyond the world of church. And I was doing my head in, how do I do this? Because I still really felt called to pastoral ministry, but I also wanted to move out. And the light bulb for me was training as a coach would enable me to do both because of the flexibility and how you can, in the world of coaching, you are able to scale your business and work. Yeah. So I began training as a coach in 2010, and that was such a liberating time for me. Some people have suggested it was my midlife crisis. So some guys buy a Harley Davidson, others unbutton their shirt and wear a thick gold chain. I trained to be a coach, but I tell you, that was such a transformational time for me. Of all the training and all the all the degrees and stuff you mentioned, that's all part of my journey. But one of the awesome things is how I grew personally. And Carmel, one of my mantras, I train a lot of coaches myself now, and one of my mantras is coaching is most powerful and effective when we offer it out of the overflow of our own personal growth and transformation. And that's
wow, what a lovely way to put it. Yeah.
And
I agree with you. I think if nothing else, the journey or the learning of coaching as a skill, whether you never use it in your life as a business, the actual personal growth in it was humongous. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And so hence began my coaching journey, not really knowing where to go. I had it in my mind that leadership coaching was where I was heading, because leadership and working with and training and mentoring leaders has always been a passion of mine. But I'll be really honest, I think I had my blinkers so set on that I wasn't consciously aware of other opportunities that were going to open up. And so when I was asked, would I be interested in working with a colleague in offering life coaching to long-term unemployed, that really wasn't in my orbit. But when something says, hey, give this a go. And so what happened is that happened one day, sometimes 2 days, sometimes 6, sometimes 12 clients a week for 3 years. And I learned so much and gained so much joy in partnering with people who are in a really unresourceful space and helping them to back themselves again, partnering with them to help them get vision again and some joy and purpose and realize the goal that was in them. And it was when that door was closing that then another door opened up to coach ill and injured soldiers at the Army base here in Brisbane, where I live.
Right.
So that door opened up 5 years, 300 soldiers later. And wow, that was such a powerful experience. And all the time while I'm doing this, I'm also coaching leaders in business, primarily small business. That's really where my heart and passion is. We need leaders of every dimension to be coaching. I'm so passionate about it. But for me personally, small business is the backbone of this country, I believe. And so it's an honor to work with them. So I was doing both together. And there was so much I learned. Like, we're there to serve our clients, but we always grow and learn. And when we allow ourselves to be touched by our clients, we then pay that forward to others. So beautiful. There was this incredible journey. And that's why I ended up rebranding myself as a leadership and personal development coach, because I was doing this stuff with the long-term unemployed and the soldiers, which was more like life coaching. But the two just are inextricably bound together for me, Carmel. And most of the conversations I have with leaders in business really end up transcending into the personal space as well. Because when we see growth there, it just flows into the other dimensions of our life.
Absolutely. Because, and I deal with a lot of people in small business too. And inevitably, a lot of the people I get to work with, they're action takers. They're clever people. They're not afraid of taking action and doing the do. But something will sideswipe them, something will happen, or experiences within their personal life. That's where things can come asunder sometimes in the business life. So, you're right. They kind of mirror each other. If everything's gone wrong in your personal life, it will leak in to your business life.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, and I think mostly I'll deal with people that want to do this with their business, but we always end up with the other conversation. Rather than, I don't know about you, but when I started my coaching, I started as a transformational coach, and I was doing that transformational coaching with people, and some of them may be in business. I've shifted it to, I work mostly with people in business, but they always need the other stuff in underneath.
Yeah, it's part of the journey, isn't it? Where we begin is not necessarily where we'll end up. And it's trusting the process, isn't it? And
Yeah.
trusting what we learn at the
I
doors.
love that you say trust in the process, because I think at the beginning of any new thing, but for me, and I would hazard a guess it may have been for you, it was harder to trust the process because you didn't know what the bloody hell you were doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And for me now, whether it's coaching, NLP, behavioral profiling, all of the bells and whistles, and I've even done psychosomatic therapy as well on top of that. But to me, they're just tools in a toolbox. For us to reach in and take out that hammer, or hang on, no, you need a chisel, hang on, you need the screwdriver, whatever it is. And I think people sometimes, I'm not sure if you find that, get hung up that I'm a life coach and I can only coach, and that's all. It's like you're so much more than just that.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the way you describe that about tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the tool, it's about the person. Absolutely. I'm like you, have developed over the years since we first connected many tools and different pathways and that, but it's about the person. And when we're focused on being present with the person who we have the privilege of coaching, we'll intuitively become aware of which tool is going to best serve them. If we start with the tools, we're going to miss some real gold here. If we start with the person, we will know which tool is going to best serve them.
Yeah. I liken it to one of the artists of eras gone by is making, they've got this big piece of stone, they've got the chisel and the hammer, but you go in with that chisel and hammer and hit it too much, there's an arm or a leg gone. You need to be gentle. You need to know exactly what to nudge and what not. So,
great metaphor. I couldn't agree more.
I love metaphors. So now you're teaching, as you say, you've got, teaching, educating more leaders in business. And as I said, part of the reason that you came back, that I saw you again, is that you've risen up a little bit more in the ranks of ICF. Mm-hmm. So tell us how, look, there's a lot of different things about it. Tell us how important that is to people that you're working with, that you are under a body, or is it important at all?
Great question. Yeah, because that's another thing that emerged, Carmel, is because of all these opportunities, I did begin to log quite a few coaching hours, and then applied for the PCC, and then eventually in 2017 credential with the MCC credential with the ICF. And then because I was so passionate about coaching, the door opened up for me to be involved in the training of coaches more. And I do that through two different coach training organizations that are ICF accredited. I began to mentor more coaches, train more coaches. And so that really put me in the orbit of ICF, and recently have become one of 8 global ambassadors in the coach training leadership team of ICF. ICF, there are about 48,000 coaches who are part of members of the ICF worldwide in hundreds of countries. But specifically to answer your question, the ICF credential is certainly a sign and an indication of high quality coach training. And I'm passionate about it. I'm really passionate about it because I see the value. However, if I was telling someone to look for a coach, am I going to say, find someone with an ICF credential? What I would say is this: that is certainly a sign of high quality training. But what I would say is, for goodness sake, make sure the coach, if you're seeking a coach, it is someone who is well qualified. It's whether ICF credential or not, are they well qualified? Look at their recommendations, because as you know, Carmel, you and I invested a hell of a lot of money in good quality training.
It wasn't $25 on the internet.
No, it certainly wasn't. But as we know, if you go to LinkedIn, you'll find thousands of people who call themselves a coach, and some of them are very good at marketing themselves, but haven't got the training behind them. They overpromise and underdeliver. So ICF, yes, I'm passionate about the ICF, but ICF credential or not, if you're seeking a coach, do your research. Are they trained well? look at the recommendations. Are they getting good recommendations? That's the important thing for me.
Yeah, and it's funny you said, I actually don't call myself a coach anymore. And I went through a bit of a period of, there was a lot of negative connotations around about, getting a coach and this coach and a $25 certificate here and there. And I kind of went, you know what? It's like getting a plumber, for example. You decide to get a plumber, but the last plumber you had, all he did was spend heaps of time under your bloody sink. You could just see the crack that you shouldn't see. And the tap kept dripping and he charged you an arm and a leg. So next time you hear the word plumber, then that's the frame you put it in. And I thought, I don't actually want to be in anyone's frame. So I will be who I am and, put my message out there. So other people will say to me, oh, but you're a coach. I go, yeah, I coach people sometimes. But that's not all I do. I also help heal people. I also make videos for people. You know what I mean?
It's great that you say that. We need to be careful our labels don't straitjacket us and therefore limit who we are and how we serve. So it's great. So it's a really good point, given your audience and your tribe, as I call them here. If we're about marketing ourselves in the best sense of the word, really my journey has been to really think carefully and clearly about how we do that. And for me, that's being clear about our purpose. What is the higher purpose that drives us, that inspires us? Who do we want to serve? And how are we serving them? That having that conversation with ourselves and getting clear about that is more important, in my view, than just sticking to our particular labels or titles.
Well, that's it. As you say, labels do straitjacket us at times. That plumber example is like, every plumber is no good now, is what, that person thinks. So, look, I love that way that you brought in their marketing. So obviously marketing is one of my, who knew when, as you mentioned earlier, years ago, I was a mentor for coaches, and you listened to me mentor to learn how to be a mentor. So that's my feather in my hat, just putting that in there.
Absolutely. But and you were awesome too, by the way, whether you remember or not, you were awesome.
Oh, was I? Oh, thank you. There you go. I didn't even ask for that. So the thing about it was, had you asked me then, Carmel, what are you going to do with your business, blah, blah, blah. Marketing was something I would have never mentioned. Like if you had said to me, you're eventually going to be teaching people marketing, I would have told you were daft as anything and you had no idea what you were talking about. However, part of my journey was that I discovered, and maybe this was some of your journey or not, I'm not sure, there was the learn how to coach. Oh my God, I can't make the business work. Go back for a job. All right, I'll try again. And there was this thing for a long time.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
And one thing I discovered, and it was probably about 7 years ago actually, was that it was my inability to market myself and to actually persuade other people was the reason that I wasn't being successful. Because as you say, there's people out there that they weren't as good as you or I were. They didn't have the qualifications. They couldn't do what we could do, but by God, they could bloody market themselves.
Indeed.
So tell me from your perspective, what have you or what do you do to market yourself? How would you describe marketing as a whole?
Great question. And I want to be absolutely honest. I am still on a journey there. And Carmel, I could probably learn a lot from you for my journey. One of the things I had to overcome and coach myself out of and get coaching out of was this limiting belief I had that I suck at marketing and early in the business.
I hear you. That's what I used to say.
Yeah. And so we could talk about all of the things that have been really helpful in terms of how we use social media, how we connect with our community, direct messaging. All of those things are really important, but they in themselves, for me, and this is where I made a mistake, I went straight to them where I wasn't clear on my why. I wasn't clear on the purpose that drove me. I realized I had to do a lot more work of getting clear on why I did what I did, and therefore how I expressed myself and how I aligned what I did with my purpose. So everyone's different, everyone sees it differently. For me, I describe it as enabling others to unleash their life and leadership potential. That's the way it became clear for me of what that higher purpose then. The second one is then, who am I focusing on there? Now, my journey was a little bit different in the sense that I also straitjacketed myself, because we hear, you've got to have a niche, you've got to have a niche, you've got to have a niche. And it was the focusing on the leadership coaching niche or the leadership niche, that I almost missed the opportunity that came from the long-term unemployed, the soldiers and everything there. So for me, it has been a little bit careful that we don't become so targeted that we're not listening to ourselves. We're not really what is it that's authentic to me. So I want to be clear here. I need to say, from a marketing perspective, I do believe you need to be crystal clear on who you're targeting, but listen to yourself first and what's inspiring you and what's driving you, because I am now focused on supporting leaders and coaching leaders, but those other experiences that I've had have contributed to that. And so now back to the marketing, because I've become really clear on that, I will be really honest. Most of my marketing now is by word of mouth, but you have to do the hard yards of getting all the other stuff, getting clear, getting focused, getting your systems in place, ensuring that all of your particular aspects of marketing are aligning with your purpose and where you want to focus.
Yeah, I often put it in a sentence for me what marketing is now, and I just go, marketing is everything you do before a sale.
Yes.
Every relationship you build, like every connection you have, because some people have, and I interviewed somebody last week and she said, why is marketing so hard? And I've gone, is it? Or is it that we've just framed marketing as this thing over there? Realistically, and you would have known this working with those people that were the long-term unemployed, they had to learn marketing to sell themselves into a job.
Yes.
It's all marketing. It's that communication. It's that, being able to match and mirror them. It's everything. It's knowing what they need. So when you go for a job application, they need somebody that can do this, 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 and this. So you have to sell them that you are that person for that. So you send the resume, you make it look right. All of that connection is marketing.
Oh,
We've made it a dirty word.
It is. And I love what you said. Two things I picked up: communication. Well, you're the communication queen. Of course, it's about communication. But you said it's about relationship. And I want to just probably clarify what I said. What I said most of mine now is by word of mouth. That would not have happened, Carmel, if it wasn't for the investment in relationships and relationship connection. I now have coaching clients. I've coached 3 people who work in the United Nations in Geneva. I've coached someone in Paris, in India. How on earth does an Aussie coach from Brisbane connect with those? I've coached someone in Manila, someone in the UK. How does that happen? Through relationship. Through relationship.
And that's discounted as part of marketing so much. It's discounted completely like that. I mean, you and I are talking. Why? Because somewhere we built a relationship.
Yes.
Why are we talking 10 years later? It's because we have connected and we have built some kind of connection and relationship. And that's what I often say, the right message, the right person at the right time. So when the timing is right, they will find you. When you have 100%. Your message, your core message, That's quite often. It's been really clear. One of the things I uncovered or played with later a while ago was I'm known as a stressless, convert more marketing strategist. And people went, wow, yeah. It's like, yeah, I am. But
Like
it
that.
actually, that's what it is, because I'm not a qualified marketer per se on paper. So we teach people how to do their marketing in a less stressful way and convert more people, so they're not freaking walking around in circles and banging their head against the wall like
I
I
love
did.
it. Work smarter, not harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So now what the title of it was, like, what is coaching, which we've uncovered a bit. So I want to really unpack you, the person behind it. So when you were learning coaching and going through your business and your ups and downs like that, because we do have them. Let's call a spade here. I don't know anyone that's ever been an overnight success. Now, I'm happy to be wrong, but so far I don't know anyone that
I don't
is.
either. No.
Now, so tell us what was one of the biggest factors that has helped you to be successful?
Mm-hmm. If I can put it in 2 words, persistence and consistency.
Yeah.
Absolutely be persistent. You're right, Carmel. It's not if, but when you will hit walls. You will encounter things that will discourage you. With how many of us been in that space? I've paid all this money to learn how to do this, and it's not going anywhere.
Oh my God, yes. Maybe once or twice.
Yeah. And therefore, this is why I'll reiterate what I said before. Coaching is most powerful when it comes out of our own personal growth and transformation. In those times, I really had to really dig deep, and really look at what was driving me and what was triggering me, why I took rejection so personally when things didn't go the way I planned.
Do the sales calls and people say no thanks.
Yeah. So I had to do a lot of self-coaching and be coached by others to really, get over myself, if I can put it bluntly, and persist. And the thing is now, what I say to people who begin the coaching journey, or any business for that matter, and that I just warn them, I'd be perfectly honest. Any of this, you're right. I do not know overnight successes, and those that appear to be the operative word to be successful very quickly, often it falls over because the foundations aren't there. Your pain, those rejection, those confusion, those trying something that doesn't work, trying something else, going all over the place, they all become the foundations of strength and resilience that will serve you for the future.
I love that.
Be persistent. Do not give up.
I used to call it failing forward. I went, I'm in a hurry, get out of my way. But now I don't. I call it adventuring forward.
I like that.
And I don't mind falling flat in my face, because then I get up and go, right, well, that didn't work. Okay, what's next? Because somewhere along the way, and I would guess that you're probably the same, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, as in, I don't care but I actually don't care what other people think about me. I really don't anymore, because I know that is purely through their lens and their experiences and their whatever. And I wish them well, so I don't mean it disrespectfully, but it's like, I can't live my life because you think I'm good, bad, right, or wrong.
Yeah.
So, and that's not going to happen. So there's a big shift in, I think there's a freedom in actually something like that, to be quite honest.
It is so liberating, and that's a lovely segue into my second word, consistency. Be consistent in what in your heart you're committed to. Do not allow yourself to be buoyed by the opinions of others. There will be a lot of people sitting in the stands who have opinions about everything, and if you allow yourself to be straitjacketed by the opinions and that of others, rather than listening to yourself, I'm not saying that in an arrogant sense. I've got mentors and people I allow to speak in my life now, and I take on board. But we need to be really discerning in the voices that we listen to allowed to speak into our lives.
And some of them are well-intentioned voices, I get that. But
yeah. Well-intentioned, but may not have the agenda of serving you. So be careful there. Be consistent to what you're committed to. Do not allow yourself to be distracted by the shiny new things if you're not being true to you. And do not allow yourself to be distracted by the voices who have other agendas and are really, in the end, going to rob you of the plan and that you have.
And while I get that, I know other people listening will get that on an intellectual level, and sometimes it's hard to decipher which are which. Sometimes it absolutely is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So tell me, I think we could talk for hours, but anyway, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made along the way?
How long have we got?
Right, well, we're on the clock.
Okay, right. Some of the biggest mistakes I made, I wasted a lot of money on websites and business cards and a whole lot of other things when I wasn't really clear on my purpose and my focus and and where I was going. I would say to people starting out in a business, whatever it may be, I would say don't spend a lot of money on those sort of things. Start a Facebook page, Instagram if you're into that. Start with a cheap WordPress website to get a presence there. Spend your time investing in you and relationships, building out. Get clear on your message, clear on what you are serving, because in a sense, kind of what you said earlier, how you don't call yourself a coach, because we're not actually marketing coaching. We are what we're really selling in the best sense of the word is hope and solutions and purpose and meaning and enabling people to achieve what they want to achieve. So get clear on that. Spend your time, get clear on that. Building relationships. And all of the other stuff, you'll have a rip-roaring website down the track. You will have more connections and so that will build. But start with you. Don't go to the bells and whistles first. That was one of the biggest mistakes.
Look, yeah, absolutely. You're so right with that. I actually put a post up, I think just the other day, of my very first business card, and it was so funny. It's so It's actually so cute because it was Carmen Murphy and Associates. And on the back of it was a recipe, but because my background was hospitality, so it was a recipe for a cocktail, but the recipe was a dash of compassion and a little bit of love and stuff.
I recently found my first business card of 11 years ago. I had it as a bookmark, an old book I got out of it. Oh my goodness, I remember that. Yeah, you've still got it.
That was mine. And there was this little recipe on the back.
Oh, but see, the thing is, we have to start somewhere. And while I will say to you, don't make the same mistake I will, you will make other mistakes as well.
Yes.
And as we said before, that's part of the learning. But that's probably the biggest one. And
it's evolved and grown. If I'm totally honest, when I started at that stage, yes, I could use a computer, but I could use a computer. Like I had to get somebody to teach me how to do webinars because, again, that's what we were doing. We were mentoring students, but there were students from all over the world. And so it was Skype, actually. There were Skype calls, weren't they? Or GoToWebinar at that time, Zoom.
Yes.
I don't think Zoom existed. So like I had to get somebody to actually show me how to do that. And I find it hysterical now because I'm so much more techie than I was. So tell me, one of my favorite things at the moment, because it's just getting so prevalent, is the use of videos in marketing and teaching and training. What are your thoughts about the use of videos, whether it's a live video like this or it's an actual, a marketing video or whatever? How are you seeing from that 10, 11 years ago to where we are now?
Critical, absolutely critical, I believe. And so if there is something worth investing in, you don't, again, start where you are. But for example, to answer your question, I've recently invested in some better lighting. We're looking at cameras and all that. Now, I'm just starting on that journey, but yeah, I can see. So, see the difference between your end and my end? I'm getting there. But you more and more in one of the coach training companies I work with, more and more video. And we have a marketing person with us, and the feedback when I do video vlogs as opposed to blogs, the feedback she gives me is it gets more hits, more people. We're in a video world. Being comfortable with video, spending the time in that, again, I believe it's an area, as I said, where it's worth investing good quality stuff in. But start where you are and get comfortable with engaging on video. Be comfortable that you can buy. You can buy really reasonable little teleprompters that work on your computer now, where you can practice and
get them free.
You can. You got a free one. You got a free one. I think mine was $12. So there you go, close enough. But be comfortable with that because the research would show that it is the way of the future.
Absolutely. Look, I don't know how many stats on it. And one of the things that I found was very common were people, of a certain age bracket, but they're still in business, and they go, or I don't want my face to camera yet, or I don't want to do Facebook Lives. We have to do our hair and our makeup and blah, blah. And that was one of the little niches, if you like, that I do at the moment, is show people how to make videos for really, really inexpensive, and they don't even have to put their face to it, or they can put their face to it.
Wow.
So, it's a little software that we go through, and we actually do it in a script. It's got artificial intelligence in it. Oh my God, Mark. Anyway, I'll show it to you another time. It's phenomenal.
How cool is that? Yes.
You can put a script in, and it will put the framework up and suggest images and everything for you. And that's how advanced it is. But all of the stats would say that, I think Facebook have said by the end of this year, early next year, they'll be almost completely videos. And you only have to go and look at LinkedIn at the moment and look at the amount of videos that are going up there rather than that. So whether it's the thing I love about teaching people that have never made video, a really simple software, is the same skills are transferable to do the big editing and the whatever, so to really start at that base level to make high quality videos for as little as $5 a month without any lights.
We can really limit ourselves and allow ourselves to run wonderful overwhelmed strategies. I'm not good on technology. I can't do this. I'm not good at that. It'll take me too long. Again, don't allow your self-talk to straitjacket you and convince you into what you can do. Yeah, it takes time, but how empowering is it to go this journey, to learn this, to discover, and the doors it opens up.
And you get so excited, sometimes, I remember I'll uncover something that maybe you or somebody else has known about for years. My friends used to laugh at me because I get so excited. I'm like, oh my God, did you know that this could do this? And they go, yeah, it's been around for 5 years. Why did nobody tell me? And I get so excited about it. But that excitement in itself can be contagious. So tell us now, we touched on what is coaching. So it's really, we touched on that. How important is it to have a coach or mentor in your life in order to keep that growth going?
I believe it is really important in one way or the other. Both are important. As we know, both are a little bit different. So mentoring is about a mentor is someone who has wisdom and experience. They've been there before, and that they offer and invest into you. Coaching is similar but different in the sense that coaching is about the person. Well, I believe it is. Coaching is about coaching the person, not the problem. So a great coach is someone who is able to be present with you, hear you, with you, journey with you, and ask you questions you're not asking yourself, to take you beyond the boundary of your conscious thinking, to discover the goals, discover your greatness, discover the things that are limiting you, discover your greatness as well, and partner with you, journey within you, and co-creating the journey to get clear on where you want to go. So coaching is about where I am, where I'd like to be, getting clear about where I'd like to be, but what's getting in the way of that? What are the obstacles? Digging deep, not just the surface, but finding the source of those, helping to find the way forward so that you can release that incredible potential within you to move forward to where you want to be. Both of those are really important.
I often think when I'm talking to somebody who has no idea what coaching is, which we don't know many people like that anymore, but no, I often think of Usain Bolt when they say to me, oh, why would I have a coach? And I go, well, you know, look at Usain Bolt. His coach can't necessarily run the same speed as him or anything like that, but he can help him dig deep to do it. He can observe how he's running. He can observe his form, because we can't see the label when we're inside the box. We can't see how we're swimming a certain stroke when we're in the pool doing it. So to me, that's the importance of having a coach and or a mentor. So I have an amazing mentor who has, for me, the mentor has what he's already done what I want to do.
Yes.
So he can guide me the way. Sometimes I'm sure he gets frustrated out of me, but it's somebody that I have a deep trust with too, that person has my my goals, my direction. They have my back, if you like, and they know the way I need to go, and they have my interest at heart. That's the word I'm trying to say. That's it.
Yes.
So I think when you look at any expert, any athlete, anyone that is, so if you're in marketing, you might look at some of the high marketers. If you're in coaching, if you're consulted, look at who is the highest in your field and do a little bit of digging on that person, because whoever is highly successful, so in personal development, you might have Anthony Robbins or Oprah or whatever, look at them and you will find somewhere along the line, they've always had a coach and or a mentor.
Indeed.
That's it. It's nearly like the apprentice, apprentice and expert is the word that's coming to my brain, but that's master apprentice, because it's like the apprentice doesn't know how to make a horseshoe or whatever the apprentice is there to be, but the master does. But he knows if he gives them the whole lot, he can't just do that. He needs to learn and build that skill.
I would not be where I am now if it wasn't for mentors and other coaches.
You wouldn't be where you are now if Carmen hadn't taught you how to know.
Exactly. It's so true.
It's so funny. So one of my favorite questions ever to ask people when I'm on here, and it's usually I leave it to the last, almost last question. There's two more questions. Number one is, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing instead?
Wow, that is a great question.
Thank you.
Really great question. Now, it is an incredibly challenging one to answer because I really am in my sweet spot at the moment. I'm in my late 50s and yet I feel energized. I feel like I could go for another 40, 50 years. That's how I feel at the moment.
Energizer, buddy.
Love what I'm doing. And so really I, in terms of my church pastoral role and my coaching and coach training, just the relationships I have there, I love it. But if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I have thought ahead. And this is it. I would love to be available to sow into others, to mentor into others, to coach others. So when I'm not doing what I'm doing now, I just had interesting a conversation just this morning with a friend of mine. We're in the same cohort at the same coaching training school that you and I went through. You were a few years before me. We're in the same coaching cohort. We still keep in contact. He's living in the States now. We just caught up and we both had this conversation about what is going to be our legacy. You know,
is that Barry by any chance?
No.
Okay. Right.
What is that? What legacy are we going to leave?
Yeah.
And so that's so got me thinking about, I'd like to write. I would like to explore some of I've learned to capture those thoughts and that, ensure that it's recorded and that, and be available to pay it forward to others.
I think you hit the word on the head, and I think that does come with age. I'm a similar age as yourself, is the word legacy, because it's like, well, and I had just almost 5 years ago now, I had a sister who passed away who was very close to me, and that really shook me up into what, because she's actually the same age I am now, she was when she passed. And it really shook me up into what's this all about? Like, why are we sweating the small stuff? Why are we worried about what people say to us? All of that. And it's like, well, what do I want to achieve? And what do I want to leave before I leave this earth? And, that's not to be morbid, but at the end of the day, none of us are getting out of here alive. Right. So it's like, what do I want to be remembered for? And I mean, I know in my home country, Ireland, I'm remembered as the crazy Auntie Carmel. I'm already that. But, what else do I want to be remembered for? So I think, we look at our parents, I think, and we kind of go, my dad used to say, oh, when I was young, and I used to say, you were never young, you were bloody always old. But now I can see how they must have thought, because life becomes even more precious when you realize you've less of it possibly than has already gone.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
And when you use time like a currency, and we did an exercise just recently on one of our membership calls, and somebody said, oh, there's so many weeks left in your life. And I did an exercise. I went, if I was to live to 90, how many weeks are there in 90 years? And then I went, well, if I take off my age now and leave what's left, and I have 1,600 weeks left. And I kind of went, no, I don't want to spend that week over there talking to you because you want to just amuse yourself, because that's one of my weeks out of my 1,600 weeks left. You get a lot clearer when you know what's important. It's very easy to say no to what's not.
Oh, it is. So true. I recently was reminded of a survey that happened. This was many years ago now, was a survey of 100 people over the age of 90. And it was a simple question: if you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? There were many responses, but 3 undeniable themes. 1, I would reflect more. 2, I would risk more. And 3, I would want to leave more of a legacy after.
And there was never, ever, ever anyone said, I wish I had worked a few more hours. Nobody ever said that. So Mark, tell me how, if people wanted to contact you, or do you have any, do you do any specific trainings that are open for the public, or is it more one-on-one and things like that? How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, great question. One-on-one coaching, I do offer training workshops to groups who reach out to me. I've had a number of workshops. Change your thinking, change your life is a day workshop I've run on many occasions for various groups. So that marksetch.com is where you find me, and anyone is free to reach out. One-on-one coaching, training, connecting in workshops. They're the primary 2 ways I offer. Coach training I do through other organisations, but if you contact me on marksetch.com, I can give more information about that as well.
Awesome. And you guys may be watching this on Facebook, or you may be watching it on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you hit that little bell, so that as more and more of these videos come up and more value being added, that you will get alerted. If you're on Facebook, it's public. Share it and let people know if you've enjoyed listening to myself and the amazing Mark. It's been so awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and it's been my pleasure to have you on Perfect Sake Marketing Adventures.
You're most welcome. It's been a delight to share, Carmel. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. So for now, it's bye from us.
Bye. See ya.